Chairman Wontumi may face 25 years imprisonment. Abusuya, Chairman Wontumi, the court case, and matters arising. Gossip Politics TV. So there is some latest update I have drop it. No, I say, Gossip Politics TV. So subscribe here, subscribing and hit on the notification bell. So there any update to be ever dropping once able to me. I can be Abusuya answer any bebo real yense mono. Say open computer papa and as a laptop papa na where use here. Abusuya Boria Perosi computers and accessories and a high quality laptops papa fee ayeden. Ewo ne location so de enye yira kwan oba Kumasi go Chrome Estate or A line na Perosi computers or first number si na ekoje o computer papa just ompe problem bia wo ho 0247 030 108 and I say 0597 942 133 Perosi computers and accessories and a computer papa fee wo momye mbonra eye yensemu endra da na Chairman Wontumi the court case in the court closing the illegal mining tano ni Mrim Forest Chairman Wontumi eborem court wa close case na wa share on the 3rd July say or the final ruling ebeba bonte Deputy Attorney General ababe break his silence on a final judgment na abusuya Chairman Wontumi ne yem ahye ne say wim enye asem keto akrobe to me a face 25 years if say you found in the guilty as he say at Chairman Wontumi ne mpaibo mu ayeden enye easy kwa and according to Deputy Attorney General court asan so aman say obetumi ede the final written submission ayeden aba na court ne so ahwe say obetumi aye bibia fa amom yenko na yenkonko tie ensema Deputy Attorney General ede etudana busuya ansa na yebekọ no pese menemodi enkomobi e wa say ope any prepaid card and as a credit ato Bora suitable needs ventures abusuya suitable needs ventures and chese obenya o prepaid credit any card ato chese very legit and I to e light or friend number no 0595 696 588 suitable needs ventures now fee men stress on unya fresh suitable needs ventures abusuya obeti wani na chese o prepaid credit no ababe go meter so me yakọ na yenkonko ti ensem bia Deputy Attorney General edituja there is much interesting moment ahead answer ne beko no unsubscribe here subscribe and hit on the notification bell so
all coming up in the next 1 hour. Do stay with us.
Starting from the High Court, and the Accra High Court has set the 3rd of July to deliver judgment in the case against the NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Ntwibo, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi. Kwame Entry and his Akonta Mining Company are the others that judgment will be delivered on, and this was after the defense closed its case. Wontumi has been charged with assigning mining rights to Henry Okum without approval from the lands minister and facilitating illegal mining operations on his Samurai Boy concession in the Western region. Lord Eduasare reports.
Chairman, how do you feel? Good.
Okay. Happy. Chairman Wontumi was held before the High Court in October 2025 and was granted 15 million cedis bail with 3 sureties to be justified after pleading not guilty to the charges. In February 2026, the prosecution led by Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai closed the case after relying on the testimonies of 4 witnesses, namely Michael Jedu, AEC, an artisanal miner and site supervisor, Henry Okum, a licensed small-scale miner, Detective Chief Inspector Safo Isedu Kwesi, the investigator on the case, and the senior legal manager at the Minerals Commission, Joseph Iroko. In March, the High Court ordered that Wontumi open his defense after dismissing his submission of no case. The defense challenged the decision but was thrown out by the Court of Appeal. Wontumi's lawyers then called on 5 witnesses, including the NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman, who testified on his own behalf. Edem Gomashi, a mining expert, George Mirikuduka, former Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Kwabna Otridako Mensah, former Western Regional Minister and Chairman of the Western Regional Security Council, and Ivan Sadei, the Assemblyman for the Samurai Boy electoral area, gave varying testimonies to aid the case of Wontumi, with a 5th witness testifying on Wednesday, June 3. Lawyers of Wontumi reacted to the court's decision.
Going by what we have given, we are convinced that the court will do its work And judging by what we have given, judgment is supposed to be rendered by the court. Now we are standing on the evidence we have submitted so far, and we are saying we are convinced that what Chairman has done so far is convincing. We have convinced ourselves and we are satisfied with the work we've done.
Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai had this to say.
The courts do their work based on the rules of court. So those of us outside the court, whatever we consider as delay, sometimes as a result of the rules of court, even though indeed there are other things that can cause the delay. But what is more important is that on the 3rd, the court will make a pronouncement whether or not the accused persons or any of the accused persons, is guilty of the offenses that we have charged.
If convicted, Chairman Wontumi could face up to 25 years imprisonment and pay a fine of 15,000 penalty units, equivalent to 180,000 cedis.
The presiding judge in the matter, Audrey Kokubute, also directed the parties to file their written submissions by June 17 if they are so minded to do so. The court may or may not rely on these submissions to make its final judgment on the matter. The NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman, Wontumi, also has 2 other pending cases before the High Court, and these cases are also running. And when they are concluded, judgment to be done or given for saying. Lord Igasari, 23 News, Accra.
Let's now go to the Supreme Court, where lawyers of the plaintiffs, Imani Africa and Professor Kwesi Enin, have raised concerns about the decision of the court to dismiss the suit challenging the president's powers to appoint and remove heads of uniformed security agencies. The Apex Court, in a unanimous decision, held that the reliefs sought by the plaintiffs were without merit. Lord Asari reports.
The case of Imani Africa and Professor Kwesi Enin was that fire, police, prisons and immigration services are established under public services in the Constitution, and hence the removal of their heads must be justified under Article 191B of the 1992 Constitution. The plaintiffs argue that the removal of the IGP, along with other heads of uniformed security services, should only occur in cases of established misconduct or misbehavior. But the defendants opposed the arguments, noting that the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of the Ghana Prison Service do not belong to the category of public servants, since their appointment is pursuant to Articles 2021 and 2071 of the Constitution. In the end, a 7-member panel chaired by Justice Gabriel Scott Pamang ruled that due to the security nature of these institutions, they will relegate it to the President to exercise his discretion. Lead counsel for the plaintiffs, Kofi Bento, reacted to the court's decision.
I'm not surprised, but I wished for a different outcome. The security of the state requires stability. And in the previous cases that we cited, if you've read our case, the point that we've made is that it is not a good thing that with every change, you have a churning in our security services. The top is removed, people are shifted. That is not stable by definition. So that every time there's a change, all the top of our security services shifts. It causes quite a bit of destabilization. That position is still, a good position. We should find a way to make it more stable. It seems to me that they have equated some of the security services officers to political officers. And I think that is profound. That is a very, very big issue.
Lord Idwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's turn our attention to the health front. The Minister in charge of health has summoned the management of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital to explain reports suggesting that the facility's emergency center is unable to admit new cases. In a letter signed by the Chief Director of the Ministry of Health, Desmond Boateng, the ministry said that the decision by the hospital is contrary to a clear directive issued by President John Dramani Mahama instructing hospitals not to turn away emergency cases. The ministry has therefore requested the hospital's management to appear before the Minister of Health by midday on Thursday, the 4th of June 2026, to explain why disciplinary action should not be taken for allegedly contradicting the President's directive.
In more news tonight, 11 years after the tragic June 3 disaster that claimed 150 lives in Accra, survivors, families of victims and legal practitioners have renewed calls for justice and accountability At a commemorative event marking the 11th anniversary, lawyers argued that many affected families have yet to receive the closure they deserve. In this report, Evelyn Tinma recaps the incidents and examines whether lessons from the tragedy have translated into concrete action to prevent a recurrence.
On the night of June 3, 2015, Accra stopped breathing. Rain had been falling for hours. Gutters overflowed. Streets around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle disappeared beneath brown floodwater. Drivers abandoned their cars. People searched for shelter at the Gull filling station near the circle, thinking that place was safer than the streets outside. Then came the explosion at the filling station. By dawn, Ghana had entered one of the darkest moments in its history. Official figures eventually placed the death toll at 150 people, with about 200 injured. The fire and flood disaster became known as June 3 disaster. Promises were made, with government vowing sweeping reforms.
I'm at a loss of words to express how I feel. We'll have to take some measures to be able to avoid this happening in the future.
City authorities pledged to improve drainage systems and enforce planning regulations. Parts of the Addo drain was dredged, but some have argued that recommendations were not fully enforced as drainage and sanitation problems persist. Unauthorized building in waterways continues, and flooding in Accra remains severe. 11 years on, survivors are still awaiting for compensation promised them.
We are suffering too much. Some of us perhaps are dead. But the compensation we're asking for the government, we didn't get it. When incidents happens, we get deliverance. People give gifts, understand, money, for we self as victims. This eyes need surgery. I didn't sleep at night. Every time my eyes drop water. If you happen to be in America or in any other country, this is I will remain the way you are. We'll be taken care of.
I lost my husband through this disaster. My child is also a victim. For 11 years now, there hasn't been any help.
11 years or 14 years.
Lawyers also continue to demand justice.
Some lost their entire families, and yet the justice they deserve remains painfully out of reach. In 2018, 69 victims took the bold step of seeking justice through the courts, filing a class action against GOIL, the National Petroleum Authority, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and the station manager. Over the years, the truth has become clearer. GOIL's own witness admitted under cross-examination that the disaster could have been avoided.
Senor Jose is one of the conveners of the One Ghana movement fighting for the cause of the victims.
Today we call on the states, we call on His Excellency the President to act in the spirit of his resetting Ghana agenda. We believe His Excellency the President stands for building prosperity and restoring hope. Hence the survivors and families of June 3 must not be left behind.
Here at the filling station where the incident happened 11 years ago, the place no longer functions. Rather, victims are gathered here every year to celebrate anniversary. And most of them say justice still feels incomplete. Evelyn Tinma, TV3 News, Accra.
And as we speak, it's exactly 11 years ago today, it was really pouring. And then we had that twin disaster of fire and flood. As we speak this very moment, it is raining in parts of Accra, and the Ghana Meteo has actually warned that a rainstorm situated over the Gulf of Guinea, which was referenced in the earlier weather update, has intensified, and we are already hearing that it's pouring outside, so you need to pay particular attention, especially if you're about stepping out or you're already outside. Stay with us. We are shifting to some other stories this evening, and the East Municipal Assembly in the Greater Accra region has begun a major demolition exercise targeting buildings and structures constructed on waterways and flood-prone areas. The exercise comes barely a week after a TV3 investigation exposed how encroachment on rivers, streams and water retention areas is contributing to perennial flooding across parts of the Greater Accra region. Joseph Armstrong Gold Alogbe has more.
On May 25, TV3 reported on some of the major causes of flooding in the national capital. The news team traced the flow of water from the Ebri Mountains through Kpongpo Hills, the Addo River, Kpongpo Yiri Stream, Kpongpo Machine Stream, Onyirishi River, Addo River, the Kole Lagoon, and finally into the sea. The investigation revealed extensive encroachment on waterways, wetlands, and natural water retention areas that are critical to draining storm water during heavy rains. Many of these water bodies have either been narrowed, diverted, or completely built over, obstructing the natural flow of water and increasing the risk of flooding. Following the report, officials of both the Gan East and Lankwantena Municipal Assembly pledged to take action against illegal development on waterways. 1 week later, the assemblies have begun demolishing structures identified as obstructing the flow of water. At the Atomic Junction area, authorities identified portions of a major water retention basin that had been developed for residential and commercial purposes. According to the engineers, the area plays a critical role in holding access storm water during heavy rains, and its encroachment has reduced its capacity to prevent flooding.
This is about the 4th time the Assembly is here to carry out enforcement. When they started, the Assembly was here to do the demolition. And then during the Xmas break, I was told that was a year ago, they came back and then continued with the filling. The Assembly came back. And so what is happening here is about the developer virtually causing the Assembly to spend money to do enforcement.
Another critical point is the confluence of the Kpongpo Yiri and Oyirinshi rivers, where portions of the flood plan have been filled and developed. Residents say they experience periodic flooding due to the structures on the waterway.
The time distance was not there. When it rains, we are free here.
Then the water flows?
Yeah, it goes.
Until the construction of this?
Yes, please.
That building there is the one block the water not to go. So the water have to start coming from that side to this side.
Engineers say these developments have significantly restricted water flow, contributing to flooding in Agbogba and neighboring communities whenever there is a heavy downpour.
What we are trying to do is to try to trace the channel of the upstream of Addo River, as we explained last week. We are now at the meeting point of the Onyase and the Kotoiri River. And as you can see, we are coming with an excavator to try and clear any obstacle that we find on the way. You know the nature of our system. As to when these things came, it's difficult for us to tell. But
because of where it's located?
Because of where it's located. For now, we are here, and then we'll be mandated to take care of it.
Because we have big rivers are meeting here. The one from Eburi and the one from Medina. The two of them are meeting here, which is very dangerous that somebody can put up a building over here.
Meanwhile, the Medina Lankwantena Municipal Assembly has also commenced dredging works along sections of the Adokobi River to restore its carrying capacity ahead of the peak rainy season, to be followed with demolition of structures on the waterway. Assembly officials say the exercise is not a one-time intervention, but part of a broader strategy to reclaim waterways and enforce planning regulations. They have warned that all unauthorized structures found on waterways, wetlands, and flood retention areas will be removed regardless of ownership. Authorities believe the exercise will improve drainage, reduce the impact of flooding, and protect lives and property across the capital. Joseph Armstrong, Good Alube TV3, Gan East.
In more news tonight, private health insurer Glyco Health Insurance Limited has launched a comprehensive sustainability plan aimed at integrating environmental responsibility, social inclusion and corporate governance into its operations. The initiative, unveiled alongside the company's maiden ESG report, outlines measures to expand healthcare access, reduce its environmental footprint, and strengthen transparency within Ghana's health insurance industry.
Glyco Health Insurance Limited says sustainability is now central to its business strategy as it seeks to redefine private health financing in Ghana. The company has unveiled its first environmental, social and governance ESG report outlining progress made in environmental management, healthcare inclusion and corporate governance. Among its achievements, Glyco Health says it has turned to solar energy to power 60% of its operations.
Okay, abusuya wene ensema ekoso ewo political highway so deputy attorney general ena echese yete ne nkana odisa ensem no tuja edemaya enye asem keto akra bedamase samoje pene kokoti sa ensem we edemaya